Hey everyone, it's Blair here at Time Trades. I hope everyone's having a great weekend. I wanted to get a video out with a few of the discoveries over the past week. We've made a few interesting observations about how time trades can be used with Bitcoin and with the QQQs. So let's dive in and take a look at these. So what you're looking at right here is Bitcoin. There's nothing set on the chart. I'm going to incrementally turn on time trade settings. So if you're new to time trades, you can see how easy it is to get started with it. So I'm just going to click on settings. I'm going to turn on Gann Waves, and I'm going to turn on short-term waves. And then I'm going to turn off the menu here. And this is kind of how I like to start my usage of time trades because it helps me establish the context of the price, right? I don't like to dive right in and focus right on the forecasts because I think it's important to understand the broader context in which these forecasts are happening. All right, so with the short-term waves on and with the Gann waves on, we can take a look at behavior during different periods of time, like multi-day periods of time. And that's what I mean by context. What is how is the price behaving during multi-day periods of time? And we can, I like to start by looking at the yellow periods and the purple periods, and then also look at the behavior of the dark blue line for the short-term waves and the light blue line as well. And you can see here that during one of the things I've noticed with Bitcoin is that during these black periods in between the Gann waves, there tends to be more downward spikes. So you look at these long bottoming tails here. They almost always tend to happen during a black period in between the Gann waves. So that's something to be aware of. We didn't really get one during this past black period, which is kind of interesting. And I also noticed that we tend to get the big moves during green periods. Okay, so this last green period was up. This green period that's coming to an end was very muted. So the last two Gann waves have had a little different behavior than prior ones. So you can see before this most recent green period here, we had big moves in that green period, big moves in the green period in May, big moves in the green period in April, big moves in the green period in March. So things are really quiet, and I would interpret that as kind of a coiling of energy. Now, I guess on balance, I have a bearish bias right now when it comes to Bitcoin. And there's a couple reasons for that. There's a very, very small, like 4%, 6% probability of a pivot low coming up July 17th. Now, I don't advise making trades based on probabilities this small, but it's non-zero and it's there, okay? It's another bit of information. But we also have a black period coming up, and we've also had a recent inflection in the blue Gann waves. Those have crossed the zero line. And we have also had and are having a recent inflection in the light blue short-term waves. Those are turning down. So both are going to be turning down now. Yellow is pretty consistent, that's moving up. So the way I like to use these short-term waves is whenever they change direction or cross the zero line down here, that should be interpreted as high probability of a change in trend, okay? And we've got two of these signals happening in short order. We've got a very low probability of a pivot low down here in July. And then we've got a pretty high probability of a pivot high in late July. So it looks like all of this sideways motion is going to be released in the next few weeks. So watch Bitcoin very closely. On last week's video, I mentioned there's a possibility of inversions that still exists. Okay, so the possibility of inversions always exists, and an inversion is really a change in the relationship between energy and price behavior. Okay, so what that means is this pivot predicted higher probability of a pivot high could turn into being a pivot low. I don't know. I also know there's some interesting astrology coming up, some of which that is not captured in time trades. For example, transiting Saturn is going to be conjunct the natal nodes of Bitcoin on the 24th. So I have no natal locations in time trades. Part of the reason for that is just it adds like 1,800 additional data points, and it does not enhance machine learning accuracy because of something called the curse of dimensionality. But that's kind of beside the point. The point is that there's some interesting astro coming up that is not in the time trades model, and that's on July 24th with Saturn conjunct natal Bitcoin nodes. Okay, so with that, let's share a couple of things that I learned this week, both of which actually have to do with nodes. One of them is a discovery I made, and a second is a discovery that a user shared with me. So yeah, thanks, George, for sharing that with me. Very interesting stuff. So we're going to go into settings here, and we're going to turn off short-term waves. And then we're going to go to the Wheel of 24. And if you're not familiar with the Wheel of 24, I highly recommend you buy a book called The Universal Clock by Jean Long. And she is an incredible author that basically built on Gann techniques to create this way of aligning and correlating price with time. So if you think of 360 degrees of a wheel and then divide it up into 15 different rings of 24 degrees each, that is really the Wheel of 24. So basically we're working with semi-sextile chunks of time, of degrees at a time. What we're doing down here with this 7200 is we're setting the size of the price wheel. If you think of two wheels, one inside each other, the first one is the time wheel, and that has 15 rings of 24 numbers each, going from 1 to 360. And then the outer wheel is the price wheel. So every time, what I'm doing here with this number here is I'm setting the size of the price wheel. So the price wheel is 7,200. So one lap around the price wheel is 7,200. So what that means is every $7,200 on Bitcoin, we're starting a new lap around that price wheel, and we are drawing an orange line. Okay. Now, one of the things that I discovered here that's super interesting is if you add Venus and if you add the south node, actually, yes, that is the configuration. So I'm going to turn off 24 lines so it's a little easier to read. Okay. So take a look at what happens every time Venus, the blue line, crosses the south node. Okay. And here we are on July 4th, and we get a local top. Here we are on June 14th, and we get a local top. Here we are on May 27th, we get a local top. Here we are on May 8th, and we get a local top. Here we are on April 20th, another local top. Here we are on April 1st, same thing. March 14th, same thing. So I think I found like one example where it's not a local top. I mean, it's just, okay, this one's off by a day. All right. This one is a small local top, but then got smoked by this giant green bar. Small local top. Not really much of a top at all, just kind of another up bar in the move. Anyways, you get the point. More often than not, much more often than not, Venus crossing the south node is a local top. Okay, so that's discovery number one. Use that as you wish. I find that very interesting. The second discovery that was shared with me by a time trades user was, go to wheel of 24, it's when the north node crosses the 24 line. Okay, so here the north node is in white and it moves backwards because the nodes move retrograde in the sky, and the 24 line is orange. Okay, so right here at this point here, the north node moves very slowly. It moves about one entire revolution around the Earth in about 18.6 years. Okay, so here's an example of the north node crossing the 24 line. So it's moved, this means it's moved 15 degrees. Okay, and boom, another local top. Okay, in fact, that's more than a local top. That's the major top prior to the big crush down. So if we scroll backwards in time, because it moves so slowly, we don't actually have a lot of samples to confirm this, but let's go back and see what happened back in time here. Okay, so here we are in February 2020, another major top right around 10,300. Okay, and after that, of course, that was the top before the COVID low, where things flush down to 4,000. Okay, everyone looks at that bar and goes, geez, if I had only bought there. And then if we scroll back even more in time, and I know I need to add a little bit more historical data here to time trades, we can see here that there's another top in November at 6,500. So yes, I know if I scroll a little bit further here, the screen goes blank. I need to add more historical data to Bitcoin. Don't worry, the models are being trained on all historical data. It's just the data that's being shown on the screen that gets truncated right around November 18th, or sorry, 2018. Okay, so that's the second discovery I wanted to share with you guys. Now let's go and take a look at QQQ. So had an interesting conversation in one of the many chat rooms and that I'm active in. Let's just turn this off. And we'll turn on short-term waves. And, you know, you can see how it's just been like straight up since May. Okay. Now, it's very rare to see price move in one direction for this period of time. Now, when you take a look at it, though, there's some major inflection points coming up. Okay. And we've got light blue peaking here, starting to turn down. Last week, dark blue crossed the zero line. And whenever we get these inflections, there's definitely at least a minor change in trend happening. Okay. So here's dark blue and a minor change of trend. Here's light blue bottoming. Okay. And that was the bottom of the market. So maybe we're going to bookend this move with light blue topping and at least have it make a local top in the market. By the way, when interpreting these short-term waves, just ignore the price price scale. Okay. It doesn't matter, like they're not measured in price. I'm just displaying them on a screen. And the unit of measure is not dollars, is not price. There's nothing in common with the price scale. The only thing that you should be looking for are changes in direction and crossing the zero line. Okay. So yeah, we've got a change in direction here. It's like most measures are very overbought. We've got a 19% probability of a 1 standard deviation down day on July 15th. We've got a little low here of 10% probability of a pivot low on July 16th. And we also have the Gann Wave black period coming up, which used to be bearish. So if we go back in time, if we skip the last two Gann Wave black periods, we actually used to have these things called red bars, believe it or not. They do tend to, much like Bitcoin, we do tend to get a little bit more volatility during those Gann Wave black periods, especially, back here in March, you can see how there's some volatility there. Yeah, so for these reasons, I would definitely recommend caution this week. We're overdue for a change of trend. The trend indicators still show everything's up, but the timing indicators are starting to flash some warnings here. All right, so that's all I got for you this week. Have fun, trade safe, go make some money this week, and we'll talk to you again next week. Thanks again.